Hi families, my name is Caitlin and welcome back to Family Meal. Today we're going to be making scones. The neat thing about scones is they're made all over around the world with all different sorts of ingredients, preparation styles, techniques, size, shape, flavors, savory or sweet. So we hope that you make your own spin on these today with whatever you have in your pantry. Grab an apron and let's get started. Okay, so today we have a guest with us again today. She is not here as a competition judge, but rather because she is the one who inspired me to make this recipe and who I learned it from. So, Mom, why don't you come back on in?
Hi, glad to be doing this today. I prefer this role, honestly, Caitlin.
So, Mom, tell me a little bit about this recipe and why we chose it today.
Sure. Our family has long had a tradition of celebrating St. Patrick's Day with food and drink. And of course, soda bread is traditionally part of that sort of celebration. I've made that for years using recipes from my aunt who was from County Clare, from a neighbor across the street whose grandmother was from another part of Ireland. But I'd heard that Irish made really delicious scones that are different than other kinds of scones made by other cultures. So I sought out a recipe and found one many years ago, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago in the Chicago Tribune. It's a very tattered copy. I've made it hundreds of times. And we just love it, and we hope you'll love it too. Very easy and delicious.
Cool, thank you, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna add the dry ingredients. I've got my assistant here today, and she's got 2 cups of flour, and then she's gonna add 1/3 cup of sugar. All right, great. She's gonna add 2½ teaspoons of baking powder. Awesome. And then she's gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Any salt will work here, we just have regular iodized salt. And then she's gonna add 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, and then our last ingredient here is an optional one. We have caraway seeds. We happen to love and usually have caraway seeds in our pantry because we cook with them often, but we like the licorice flavor that they add, something that you would normally have in like a rye bread or on a Reuben. So we're gonna add those now, but feel free to use something else that you have in your pantry. And then she's gonna mix it up. That looks awesome.
And while I'm doing this, I'd like to add that if, like me, you might like to make scones first thing in the morning as a surprise for your family or maybe to take into your workplace, but you don't have a lot of time, you can pre-mix this the night before and cover it with some plastic wrap or something else like that, and leave it on the counter and you'll be all ready to go and just add the next ingredients. It saves quite a bit of time.
Awesome, love it. All right, so now we're gonna mix the wet ingredients. So first thing is we have 2 eggs here. So my mom's gonna grab those and put them in her bowl. And then the next ingredient that we have is buttermilk, 1/2 cup total. We've got 2 different ones here on the table. So we happen to have buttermilk in our pantry because we made soda bread last week. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in right here. If you don't and you wanna make it on your own, which most people probably don't have that on hand, you totally can. Just use a little bit of milk and a little bit of lemon juice or vinegar. So in this case, I've got 1/4 cup here with 3/4 teaspoon of lemon juice. And then I've let it sit for about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna add that in. All right. And then last but not least is cooled butter. So I'll go ahead and put that in here. That has been melted. And you just mix it up until everything is nice and combined. That looks great.
Thank you.
That's the fun part. We're gonna mix the wet ingredients with the dry. So we've got our egg mixture there that we're adding right into our wet. And then we're gonna start mixing. You could use a spoon here, you could use your hands too, whatever works. This is a pretty wet scone recipe, and don't be concerned if you feel like the dough itself is a little bit wet. You really want to have a light touch with it, and that's important because it will protect the authenticity and the texture of the scones. So she's just mixing it pretty gently with the spoon here. You can start to see the caraway seeds. When it just about starts to come together, we're gonna get ready to add our currants, if you're using these or any sort of other dried fruit. Okay, there's a couple left, so I'll eat those. Snacking is important. And then we're gonna get ready to roll these out in just a few minutes. Okay, so we're gonna start by flouring our hands. And then a little bit of flour on the top. And then you're gonna start to form it into a cushion about 1 inch thick in diameter. Okay. Once you feel good about your shape, take a floured knife and start to cut it into 6 pieces. Great tasks for multiple helpers here. Different people can work on different pieces of dough and cut it into different amounts of scones.
You can see Caitlin is much quicker at this than I am. But we're getting to the same place. The less touching,
The better.
the better texture in my experience of making these scones.
All right, so our scones are out of the oven. You can see they turned out great. Got a little bit of golden color on the bottom of them. Now this recipe makes for 12 scones, so feel free to scale up or down depending on the size of your group. When our full family is here, we will often make a double batch of this, and that's a great activity, math exercise that you can do with your helper too in advance. So feel free to serve these with butter, jam, tea, or any combination of those as we're doing today. And as I like to say, sláinte.
To your house.
Thanks. See you next time.
Look what I was smelling downstairs. Let's see here. I'm the judge this time. It looks like Caitlin's the winner.
We want to know how you and your family are enjoying this recipe and making it together. So tag us. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Pilot Light Chefs, #PLFamilyMeal.